All right, good morning, everybody. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk, live from East Greenbush, New York, Sunday, October 25th. Lots to chat about today. We're going to, let me just start with a welcome to the groups that I share this to. There's many of them that you've allowed me, the administrators have allowed me to share the show to, and I appreciate that, and I thank you, and I hope you'll continue to allow me to share it. If you get this and say you're a college football-centric site, you'll have college football on the broadcast. There'll be baseball if I share it to a baseball site. There'll be football NFL football if I share it to an NFL site. Just at different parts of the show. For instance, today we're going to cover the World Series first, college football, then pro football, some news, a look at where we're at in the season so far, and then, of course, my picks live, which last week we improved to 7-7, which was a great improvement over the week before, unfortunately. I want to start a little something new here this week, too. On Sundays, I'm going to start with just a few shout outs for some birthdays that have happened this weekend. Will happen before we talk again on Friday. So I want to wish happy birthday to all these people. Roy Spears, Jimmy Dennis was yesterday, I believe, maybe Friday, sorry. Jason Carr, Omar Marino yesterday, famous Pittsburgh Pirate center fielder. Ken Schott from the Gazette, his birthday was yesterday. Coming up this week, Art Mormile, and all these people are friends, watchers of the show. Some are some of the guests we've had on the show. So again, Art Mormile this week, Lance Chase, Lenny Harris, Michael Bull, Pat Combs, shortstop for the Twins and the Pirates, I believe, through his career. Sue Sitchie, happy birthday this week, Sue. Jerry Azar, Jim Montaigne, go Dolphins, hey? Diana Mack, Steve Pachoka, Byron Williams, Oreste Marrero, Bob Sherlock, Margaret Engel, my sister-in-law, my wonderful sister-in-law, all before October 31st. So happy birthday to all of you guys. Moving on, I want to thank my guest from Friday, Ian O'Connor. We had some technical difficulties, which I apologize for. Guys, go back and watch the interview. The video is a little choppy in the beginning. I think I know it was the scroll I tried to use on the bottom of the screen again. It seemed to work when I was doing the interview. It was a taped interview I did with Ian on Thursday night, and it seemed to work fine. And then when I started it Friday morning live, the beginning is choppy. The interview is fine with Ian. It's fine when I come back on to do the wrap up. So there's a couple minutes of weird, I don't know how to say it, delays. Just the audio sounded fine and the picture was not very good. So I apologize for that. We'll correct that problem going forward. Just fix my picture just a little bit. But the Ian O'Connor interview itself, guys, listen to this interview. It's he wrote a book. He's written many books. The one we concentrated on, me being a Patriot fan, was Belichick, Inside the Mind of the Greatest, or the Making of the Greatest Coach of All Time. And it's, Ian had a tough time writing this book because Bill Belichick would not participate, did everything he could to get this book not to be published. He encouraged people not to cooperate with Ian, but he got it done, and he wrote a great book, and there's some great insight in there. So if you haven't seen this book, please go to Amazon, download it, and read it. And he's got some other books too out about Derek Jeter, the relationship, sometimes cantankerous relationship, often friendly relationship with Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. He's got a great book called Jump, which is about Sebastian Telfair, if I'm saying his name correctly, who is a young NBA phenom and kind of flamed out. And it's really a good story. And he's writing a new book about Mike Krzyzewski, or involving Mike Krzyzewski. I can say that name, actually, believe it or not. The legendary Duke head coach. And coming up Friday, so I want to thank Ian. And coming up this Friday, I've got Billy Martin Jr., We'll see another promo go out this morning regarding just that. Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, live. I'll have Billy Martin Jr. on the show. We'll talk about his legendary father, Billy Martin. And many of you obviously know the name Billy Martin, very polarizing figure. And we should have an interesting conversation. Billy Jr. is really trying to get his dad into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think Billy deserves consideration from the Veteran Committee. And, Billy's a dynamic figure. You love him or you hate him, I guess. He's a great game technician, had his faults. And we'll talk to Billy Jr. about, what's real and what isn't real in the legend of Billy Martin. And Billy managed many teams. He managed the Yankees 5 times. He also managed the A's, the Twins, the Tigers, the Rangers, and great turnarounds in every one of those situations. And then inevitably, his welcome was worn out. So we'll talk to Billy Jr. about all of that. In fact, he grew up around the game, obviously being with his dad, and his dad being a Major League Baseball manager during his entire youth. So we'll talk a lot about that. Let's get into today's show. I'm going to start with the World Series. It's just an unbelievable game last night. Game 4, really a must-win for the Rays. They were down 2-1. A back and forth game last night. Lots of runs. There was a record set for half innings. I think. I wrote the number down here somewhere. World Series record: 8 straight half innings with a score. Just back and forth. Lots of scoring. If you like that type of game, it was an exciting game, and the finish was just unbelievable. The Rays down to their last out. They did have men on first and second. And the only man they've got to come to the plate is Brett Phillips, who they picked up, the last month of the season from Kansas City. Brett had not had a hit in 23 at-bats not 23 at-bats, but 23 games with the Rays. He was used mostly as a late inning defensive replacement, pinch runner. He had a job with the team. It was not to be up with the game on the line in the World Series. But as often has happened in history of sports in general, an unlikely guy is up. He's got 2 strikes on him. He's trying to stay alive. He hits a little liner in the center where, quite frankly, Taylor should have had a play at the plate to get the tying run. Kiermaier just kicks the ball. It just kicks the ball. Recovers in time. Now, Arozarena is trying to score from first base with the winning run. They've got him dead to rights. He falls down. He's laying in the baseline. They've got him dead. And Taylor hits the cutoff man. And he throws to the catcher, Will Smith, who just whiffs on it. And it goes to the backstop. And Arozarena is able to basically crawl at the home plate and score the winning run. Just an unbelievable finish to the game. That part of the game is very exciting, obviously. And some people are calling it the double Buckner game. If obviously many of you know the Bill Buckner story in the '86 World Series, where the Red Sox did not win because of a ball that got through Bill Buckner's legs. They're calling this a double Buckner, some people I read this morning. I don't know if it's quite that egregious, but again, it was a game the Dodgers had. They got up 3-1. They would have been up 3-1. And the Rays find a way to win with the most unlikely guy you could think of getting a base hit. And the Rays are tied 2-2 and back in the series. I had picked the series, the Rays to win this series. Didn't get to pick it here because I didn't know who was going to be playing, but I can tell you I picked the Rays. I got to go live, I guess, when I do these picks, my Thursday night picks for the football, and maybe some things that happen when we don't have a show, because I can't do a daily show. I've got a real job. It takes up about 12 hours a day. Still working from home for 7 months, but still it's the days are longer, believe it or not, working from home than they were in the office. But a couple notes on this World Series so far and last night's game. Last night the Rays, amazingly, they win the game. They struck out 14 times. There's 10 walks in the game total, a total of 16 or 20 or 21 strikeouts. Guys, the game lasted 4.5 hours. Who's watching these games at the end except somebody like me who wakes up in the 8th inning because I've been sleeping during the Miami Virginia game. I'm wide awake now. I can watch the end of the game, but who's awake? These games should not be taking 4.5 hours, guys. Too many walks, too many times there's nothing happening. Even an exciting game like last night. I mean, 21 strikeouts, 20 strikeouts. If I had the number wrong, I apologize. But throughout the series, it's been the same thing. The games are long. Way too many. Again, trips. It's pitchers. 13 pitchers used last night. Again, that's the norm. That's the norm. These are the things that are really slowing down the game. Constant trip. Even though the baseball's put in some artificial rules trying to speed up the game, just play the game the way it was meant to be played. Catch the ball at your pitcher, get your sign, throw the ball. Hitter stays in the box, which they put a rule in for, right? They supposedly got clocks on pitchers. During the COVID situation where all the sports were locked down, I watch a lot of games on YouTube from the 70s, even the 60s. Guys, games took an hour and 59 minutes, 2 hours and 7 minutes, 9-inning games, some long 12-inning games. Heck, one of the most famous World Series games in history, the 15-inning game. I think it was a 15-inning game in 1975 with the Red Sox and Reds with Carlton Fisk's famous home run. That game didn't take 4.5 hours to play. Too long. With all the other things I keep telling you that's wrong with baseball. And I'm a big baseball fan. I still am. Please don't misunderstand my I guess my crankiness, and maybe it's just because I'm old, and I want things the way they were in my day. Back in my day, I'm not just cranky. I want to see. Hey, Rick. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Sorry. Glad to see you here today. Rick, let me know if you're going to make picks with me. We're not going to do the NFL until last, but I hope you'll do picks with me today. What else we got in the World Series? I mean, there's been some good stories. I mean, obviously last night the Brett Phillips story is a great story. That's a fun thing about of sports. There's always an unlikely hero. You've seen Mookie Betts throughout these playoffs. He may have struggled a little bit here. Oh, geez, I got to go back to something too. But he struggled a little bit here in the last couple of games. But Mookie Betts may be the best player in baseball. He may be better than Mike Trout right now. He's really, the Red Sox have got to be kicking themselves. And he's been a great pickup for the Dodgers. Will Smith last night, ironically, a week ago, he's in one of the coolest moments in playoff history, baseball history, because it never happened. Will Smith faced off against his namesake, Will Smith. Never happened. Hit a home run. And then here a week later-ish, now Will Smith's a GOAT in a World Series game because he whiffed. I mean, that's the only way you could look at it, is he whiffed on that relay. The game should have been tied, gone extra innings. Maybe he shouldn't even have gone extra innings if Taylor doesn't boot the ball in the first place, which is why we've got the double Buckner analogy that people are using this morning. Lots of home runs. Again, it goes back to my problem. God, there's got to be. I was looking this morning at the number of home runs hit in this World Series. Not a lot of small ball being played. I guess Friday night the Dodgers did manufacture a couple of runs, which was good to see. But, you've got to it wasn't far off on my Vikings. You're right. So give me a thumbs up or down if you think you're going to do the picks when we get to them a little bit later here, Rick. I really don't have much more to talk about the World Series. I mean, guys, the baseball's still a great game. They just need to go back to playing it. Stop putting in artificial rules. Just play the games. Let's get away from home run or strikeouts. It's not fun to watch. It's not fun to watch. It is just not fun. Let's move on. College football. Big story yesterday. The Big Ten's back. Friday night first. Actually, they came back. Wisconsin trounced Illinois. But it's good to see the Big Ten back. I mean, I have a little problem with the rankings, and we'll see when the playoff rankings come out. It's going to be very interesting how that committee handles the Big Ten and the Pac-12, which won't start until next week, hopefully. We'll talk about that in a second. Some of these teams and you had 2 teams in the top 10, I believe, without playing any games, while other teams had played 5, 6 games. I think as these teams start to lose, like Penn State lost a big game in Indiana yesterday, Penn State should fall far out of the top 10, and, behind some of these teams that have played a lot of games and are still undefeated or one loss. I just, again, I don't want to penalize the Big Ten necessarily. They're going to do everything they can to play 9 games. I think they got a very interesting scenario, by the way, where they're playing, I believe they're playing all conference games, but championship Saturday, which is September 12th, but it's up in the air anyway, depending on, as a lot of conference championship weekends are up in the air. They're going to do something interesting. The Pac-12 has latched onto this. So championship Saturday, they're going to play their normal championship game. So it's 1 versus 1 in the 2 divisions. And then they would also play 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4, 5 versus 5, etc. You can see where I'm going, obviously. And I think it'll make for an interest. That'll give them extra games to get in. And also, it's going to be good for. It's going to be a great day watching football. Again, the Pac-12 is going to do the same thing. Whether it's the same weekend or not was still up for debate. But you're going to see a lot of games where, over that weekend, you might only have 5. You have championship games. You might only have 8 games. You're going to have, 20. I don't know. If it's the same weekend, it'd be 20 to 30 games. If it's not the same weekend, you'll probably still have 20 games, which is going to be fun. And that's in the middle of December. Football usually dries up and we're done by the 1st of December, college football, until the bowls start. And in fact, I think some of these college championship weekends, there's already bowl games going to be scheduled to be played, not the major bowl games, right? Nothing that's going to be affected by championship weekend, but I think it's an interesting concept, and you may see more of this going forward. I think it's revenue for the schools, and next year when they have to make up revenue, they may need to do these things. Another interesting development yesterday, as far as scheduling goes, and this is really cool. It's too bad they can't have fans. I don't know if they can have any fans. We'll find out. That could change between now and the time they play it. But the Army-Navy game normally played in Philadelphia because of the big stadium, and I don't think any fans can be there. They moved the game to West Point, and I think that's awesome. We won't see it forever, obviously, because of money considerations, and it's a small stadium. But if you haven't been to Meade Stadium, you got to go. You can't, and if for some reason you can go this year and you feel comfortable doing it. I want people to be safe and not do things that they're afraid they're going to get sick. But if you've never been to a game at West Point, you have to go. The pageantry of the cadets marching in the stadium, you got to get there early. You got to see it all, take it all in. I want to get down again, and I would wish I could get to this game. I may try. If there's fans, I may think about it. We'll see what the situation is. It's still a ways off. That's usually the first Saturday in December, and it's kind of a standalone game, except for some of the, Division II championship game or playoff games and that type of thing. But it's usually a standalone game. I doubt it will be this year. I'm sure that there will be other games being played that day, just because of the whole COVID situation and the schedule being pushed back and games continuing to be postponed. Although we only had 1 game postponed this week. Um, but on that topic, the Big 12 will be starting next week. Or is it one more week? It might be one more week yet, or week after, 2 more weeks. I think it's the 7th. Oregon had to shut down. Oregon had to shut down their facilities yesterday. Five positive tests. Hopefully, again, it's a touchy situation around the country, and hopefully we can get these games in and we can do it safely. As I've said, week in and week out, sports is important to the fabric of this country, but you got to be able to do it safely. And so far, that for most part, we've done very well. NFL's had a few situations, as we'll talk more about, but nothing. We've had no major breakouts like MLB had when they first started. I think they learned a lot from what went on there. And I think going forward I think it'll be safe. A couple other points from yesterday. Indiana upsets Penn State, as I said, huge win for Indiana. Indiana's got a good football team. They had the best season they had last year in at least 20 years, probably closer to 30. What else? Ryan Day's taking some heat for scoring a touchdown. We'll talk about this stuff as we go through the games too. I'll probably go through those a little quicker today, maybe, but spend some time in the NFL if you guys want to chat more. Looks like Rick has already made 2 picks just with his comments, but that's okay. I'm joking, Rick. Ryan Day gets the heat for scoring a touchdown with 2 seconds from a 2-yard line with a 45-17 lead. And I mean, he said he got a freshman quarterback in there. You didn't have the right personnel to kneel on the football, which seems a little odd to me, I guess. But I mean, you can still kneel on the football if you wanted to. But he did. Scored a touchdown. He's taken some heat. I mean, he apologized after the game, which I don't know that he necessarily needs to do, to be honest with you. But he did apologize after the game. He plans to apologize personally to Scott Frost, the Nebraska coach. My take on these things, guys, is, kids, especially, well, any kid, I don't care. You're a backup. You get a chance to play. Shouldn't you be allowed to just score? Try to score? I got to go in and kneel on the football? It's your chance to get some film of you in game action. Why should we be forced to just put handcuffs on these guys? And I've always had this. This isn't peewee football. This isn't in high school football. I'm okay with the fact that we should not be running up scores. But once we get to college and the pros, it's not my job to stop my offense. It's your job. Do better. I shouldn't have to put handcuffs on them, especially when you're putting in second teamers, third stringers, who rarely get a chance to play in a game. And now you're going to put them in there and tell them, just hand the ball off, just kneel on the ball. I think they should be allowed to play. These are grown men. I remember, this isn't new. I mean, first of all, Clemson won 70-3 last week against Georgia Tech. It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Especially the way the polls work and the eye test, and people want to see big scores. Pollsters do. It's okay. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. I remember, especially rivalry games. I remember, and you guys, some of you guys will know this story, I'm sure, but there's a very famous game back. I don't know if it was the late '60s, maybe '70ish, and the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry was at its peak, and Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes were going at each other every year. I believe they might have called it 10 years war, right? But Woody's team was absolutely hammering Michigan on this particular Saturday. And they were up. I'm going to make up the score. I don't know. It might have been 50-10. And they had the ball, scored a touchdown to make it 50-10. I don't know if there's any time left on the clock. There's either a few seconds or no time left on the clock. And Woody, in true Woody Hayes fashion, doesn't kick the extra point. He goes for 2. and they get it and they win, let's just say 52-10. I'm probably off on the score. But that's it. Game over. After the words, he's asked, what are you doing? Why aren't you just taking the field goal there? Why are you going for 2 points? And he had a classic answer, because they wouldn't let me go for 3. You get in these games and they, let the kids play. I'm okay. You stop me. Not my job to stop me. Sure, a lot of people have a different take on this. They're not professionals. Even in the pros, people get their panties in a bunch when teams run up scores. The Patriots did it during their almost run to history in 2007. But, I'm okay with teams scoring as many points as they need to. So I guess that's it. The rest of anything else I got here, I guess we'll probably cover as we go through the games here. And bear with me because I just lost my place. Where's my week? I should not have been playing around with this scroller. More scintillating TV from Keith Engel. Great job. Here we go. We're getting close. We're getting close. We're getting close. Some interesting games yesterday, guys. Very interesting games. Earlier in the weekend, a couple of Tulsa rolls over South Florida, who's off to a tough start right now. Jacksonville State, Florida International. Jacksonville State beats Florida International, which to me is a bit of an upset, but maybe not. Florida International's not playing well. The big game before Saturday was the kickoff of the Big Ten schedule. Wisconsin just rolled over Illinois 45-7. Wisconsin's really, really good. Really good. I think you're going to be this could be a year that they, again, they're going to have to beat Ohio State. Michigan looked better than I gave them credit for early. This first game, I should say. So we'll see. I think Wisconsin is probably going to have a very good shot at that championship game in the Big Ten. Also, before Friday, UAB had gotten beaten by Louisiana, who's now 4-1. Probably the Raging Cajuns are maybe underrated. We'll see. They're 4-1. Maybe to be heard from, as far as one of the decent bowls. We don't know. Now we move into the bigger games. Saturday, Clemson, number 1, struggles with Syracuse for a long time. That game was like 25-21, 26-21. Syracuse is really giving them a tussle. Trevor Lawrence threw the first pick 6 in his career. First pick 6 ever. It's a pretty good stat. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, so but still. They had running away. They scored 22 unanswered points, win the game 47-21. Defense overall, guys, much better this week. Again, you're going to see some teams with 40s and 50s, but it's a good time. Teams really rolling up scores, and the other teams didn't score a lot. There was no 59-52 games and 49-48, maybe 1 or 2, but defense is moving along. And maybe I've been too harsh because, with the whole situation and practice being disrupted and teams not playing for weeks at a time because of postponements and bye weeks and things like that, followed by bye weeks all tied together. Maybe I was being too harsh in the beginning. We'll see if the defenses start to play better. Alabama continues to just put the whipping stick to Tennessee every time they play them. I think they beat them 15 times in a row. They went easily yesterday, 48-17. The game wasn't even that close. Mac Jones with another great game. Mac Jones got himself in the Heisman conversation. Josh Fields is now back for Ohio State. Probably the front runner, even though he hasn't played a game. Played very well yesterday, though. So another great game for Alabama. Yeah, they have got. I can't see how Ohio State is better than Alabama. A lot of people think that Ohio State. Ryan Day pushed for this Big Ten season because he thinks he's got a generational team, which he probably does. But I don't see where they're head and shoulders above Alabama. Bama's loaded on offense. I mean, Nick Saban said yesterday, offense is, the most important factor of the game, which is odd come from Nick Saban. When he came to Alabama, defense was the name of the game. Now it's offense, and that's where they focus. They played some pretty good defense, so I think the last couple of weeks when they needed to as well. Notre Dame rolls. There were some questions about Notre Dame's offense after they struggled last week against Louisville, scoring just 15 points maybe. But they rolled against a pretty good Pittsburgh defense, 45-10. Ian Book throws for 312 yards and 3 touchdowns. Notre Dame could be for real. I don't know. They really haven't played anybody yet. They've won. They won big in at least 3 of their 5 games. It's going to be interesting whether they're obviously the NCAA wants them in the playoff, but I doubt they want them in the playoff to get blown out again, like they have the last couple times they've been there. But they're playing much better. I missed a boat. I liked them yesterday. They were given 10 points, and I just got scared off by the way their offense played against Louisville, who does not have a good defense, and Pittsburgh does. But yesterday they rolled to improve to 5-0. Nebraska gets hammered by Ohio State, as I mentioned, 52-17. A little controversy at the end of that game that I really don't see as a really controversial thing. Justin Fields, only played 3 quarters, maybe. Throws for a couple touchdowns, no mistakes. Don't have the numbers here, but he probably ran for a bunch of yards as well. Great player, Justin Fields. Watched him in one of the early seasons of QB1. If you never watched QB1 on Netflix, and I don't know when they'll have a new season, but going back and watching the old season, especially I started it after the fact. So some of these guys had already been in college when I started watching it. And what it does is they follow, I think, 3 highly touted high school quarterbacks through their senior years in high school. And it's all behind the scenes, and it's really interesting stuff. There's been a couple of guys. Well, Shane Rattler, I think his name, what's his name? Sean Rattler, I think. Probably giving them the wrong name again. Spencer, what's his name? Somebody help me out. Damn. I'll have to find it when I get to the Oklahoma game. He was on it anyway, the last season that I watched. There probably won't be a new season for a while just because of the COVID situation and high school football teams not playing in most of the country, at least not yet. But it's a great show. It's on Netflix. Check it out. A lot of fun. I digress. Where was I? Oklahoma State. That was one of my bets yesterday. -2.5. We squeak out a 3-point win. Gave up a late touchdown. I had to go back and check the spread. I was afraid it was 3.5. I was going to lose by 0.5 point. Anyway, Oklahoma State is 6th in the country. Doing it with defense. Their offense was efficient yesterday. Spencer Sanders, coming back from injury, had a pretty good day. Threw for 235 yards and a touchdown. Their running game played well, but it's their defense. Interestingly enough, Oklahoma State's always been a powerhouse on offense, and its defense is kind of done for him this year. So great job on Mike Gundy's team right there. No, we talked about Indiana Penn State. Huge upset. Little controversy at the end of this game. They were in overtime. Had scored. They could have kicked a field goal to tie for 2. I don't think they had changed. I'm not certain. They could have reached a point where they had to go for 2. I'm not sure. But they did go for 2 regardless. And the winning touchdown was very controversial as the Indiana quarterback kept a keeper. And around the end, lunges for the end zone. Ball hits the pylon, knees close to the ground. I think it's a touchdown. You watch it. I saw people going nuts on Facebook that his knee was down. I think he scored a touchdown. You watch it from the right angle. I believe it was the right call. And Indiana upsets Penn State 36-35. So you'll see Penn State tumble. I would think they're number 8. They should take a drop below some of these teams that have been playing. What else we got here? Another great game yesterday. It wasn't on our choices to pick yesterday. I wish it was. Cincinnati, number 9 against number 16 SMU. Great matchup in the American Conference. That's a good league. There's some good teams that they beat each other up. I've talked about this a couple of weeks that somebody's got to step on. It might be Cincinnati now. They're 4-0. They're 9th in the country. Probably if somebody's going to step up from that group of 5, and then I'll include BYU in that, even though they're kind of playing an independent schedule this year. If somebody's going to step up from outside the Power 5 and have a chance to crash the playoff party, it's going to be Cincinnati probably. SMU's lost. Memphis is lost. Central Florida's lost in the American. So this is a good league, and they beat each other up. That's the problem. Cincinnati's got to run the table. Nobody's getting in from that group of 5 with 1 loss. So a really good effort by Cincinnati to win that game on the road yesterday as an underdog. My team, Miami Hurricanes, did not really impress against Virginia. Not a good Virginia team. Bronco Mendenhall had really put together a pretty good nucleus here the last couple of years. Virginia played really well last year, but I think they had a few guys opt out. Derek King played well, 322 and a touchdown, ran for a bunch of yards. Miami wins 19-14, not much of a game. I kind of fell asleep actually most of the second half. So I apologize, Hurricanes. That did give me a little rest so I could wake up and see the rest of the World Series game. But anyway, Miami does squeak through. They moved to 5-1, 4-1 in the ACC. They're ranked number 11th, by the way. Number 11. BYU rolls again, 52-14. But again, we're talking about Texas State. The problem with BYU, they're 12th in the country, but they're not going to play anybody ranked, even close to being ranked. Because you can't play an independent schedule this year of all years, and be able to find your way into the playoff, I don't think. Now, North Carolina State in state rivalry. North Carolina with a stinker last week. They go into Florida State at ranked number 5. They probably should not have been ranked that high. And they got beat. Very predictable, to be honest with you. A trap game if I ever saw one. But Carolina comes back home where they're undefeated and they've just blown teams out. They're much better at home than they are on the road. And they beat a pretty good North Carolina State team. Came in 4-1. And they beat them up pretty good, 48-21. Sam Howell with a nice game at quarterback. And Javonte Williams for North Carolina State ran for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. Who knows? Maybe one of these running backs is going to separate themselves a little bit and get into this Heisman race. We talked about the kid from Clemson. I can never say his name, and I apologize. Antonine. I'm going to say it wrong again. Scored 3 touchdowns yesterday. Only ran for 83 yards, but he's going to be in the conversation. One of them probably get invited to the final. If there is a Heisman presentation this year, he'll probably be one of the finalists that gets invited. Disappointing showing by Minnesota yesterday. Michigan, who I'm kind of down on a little bit, goes into Minnesota as a favorite. Loved Minnesota, to be honest with you, getting 3.5 at home. Minnesota had a great season last year. They got a lot of guys back. They had a great head coach. But they get just run over at home, 49-24. The new quarterback for Michigan, who was a big question mark, Joe Milton, played very well. But it was all Michigan all day. I mean, they got ahead early, and Minnesota just could not play from behind. So disappointing effort there. 1-1 on my wagers yesterday. Wake Forest beats Virginia Tech. Again, Virginia Tech ranked 19th, falls to 3-2. Not going to be easy for them to get to the championship game now. Kansas State lost to a I can't remember who they lost to. Who did they lose to? Let me see if I can pull the schedule up quick. They lost to Arkansas State 35-31 back on September 12th. But since then, they've gotten into the top 25. I'll give you the ranking in a second. But they beat Oklahoma. They beat Texas Tech. They beat TCU. And now they rolled over Kansas, who's not very good. Rolled over them, let me see, 55-10, I want to say. I got to get back to this game. 55-14. Sorry, they're ranked number 20 and moving up. Kansas State is for real, guys. You know, that whole Pac-12, I'm not Pac-12, sorry, Big 12, kind of upside down. Oklahoma's still in play. Oklahoma State's in the driver's seat. Kansas State, is 4-0 in league play. It's going to be interesting, and some of the yearly plowers are not really going to be in play probably here. Marshall rolls over Florida Atlantic. Marshall, always underrated, 5-0, moves into the top 22 or top at number 22 into the top 25. Very underrated team, 5-0. Coastal Carolina, 28-14 yesterday over Georgia Southern. Not a big game, but Coastal Carolina is playing well. Another one of those sleeper teams that might get some love into one of the more prestigious bowls, let's say. Army, I keep touting Army every week. They only played Mercer, but they're 5-1. They roll 49-3 yesterday. And when you're running their offense, 49 points is a lot of points to score. Auburn, a must-win yesterday. I know Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss had some issues with the officiating, but Ole Miss falls to 4-1, and Auburn improves to 3-2. It was a must-win. Gus Malzone is on the firing line down there. They're not getting it done. Bo Nix has not been getting it done. He had a decent day yesterday. Didn't set the world on fire, but they played well enough to win. Bigsby ran for a couple of touchdowns and 129 yards for Auburn, and they improved to 3-2 in the SEC, but they're not that good this year. Oklahoma continuing to try to Spencer Rattler. I keep wanting to call him Sean. I don't know why. Oklahoma really had its way with TCU. TCU is not up to their normal standards this year, especially on defense. And Gary Patterson has been there a long time, and it's got to be frustrating for him. But they rolled 33-14 over TCU. And as I said, Spencer Rattler he played really well in the the whole game, second half especially. He threw some long passes that were right on the money. He got benched against Texas, came back into that game and played much better. And I think maybe he's starting to turn the corner. You got to remember, this kid's still a freshman. And again, if you get a chance to watch QB1, go do it. Fun show. Watch the previous seasons, because you'll see some names that you know. You'll see some that you don't. Didn't really make it, but some interesting stuff there. Memphis, who we talked about a minute ago, in that strong American Conference, they beat Temple 41-29. Charlotte beats UTEP. Other big games. Louisville just rolls over Florida State. Florida State looks like they're getting it together. They gave Notre Dame a kind of they really didn't give them a tough time, but they won their last couple games. They beat North Carolina, ranked number 5 last week at home. But I think Carolina's a bit overranked, obviously, at 5. They get killed by Louisville, who's really shown nothing all year. 48-16 on the road. Not a good effort. Florida State is still struggling along. Rutgers. Greg Schiano's return to Rutgers is triumphant. 38-27 over Michigan State. Michigan State is not what they've been in the recent past. They've got a new head coach. But you know what? Rutgers doesn't win a lot of games in the Big Ten. And it's going to be interesting what Greg Schiano can do. He's really, 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 really been hitting the recruiting trail hard, but that takes time to pan out, right? So I'm I'm interested to see what Greg can do there. He had a great run the first time at Rutgers, and he got them to heights that they hadn't seen, in their history, or at least for decades. Liberty beats Southern Miss. There's one of those high-scoring games, 56-35. Another one, UCF rebounds and wins 51-34. So you get some big scoring games here as we go down. Middle Tennessee beats Rice. Rice favored for one of the few times that I can remember since I've been alive. They lose that game. Houston beats Navy. Navy's really struggling this year. They're 3-3, but they're really tough. Houston, you know what? They had a tough loss to get the year started, but against BYU. But they're 2-1 in that American, and that team Navy's playing in that American conference as well, the AAC, and it's really good league, top to bottom. If you guys aren't paying attention to that league, pay attention to it. Texas, again, they're all must wins for Texas now at 3-2, but they beat Baylor 27-16. Purdue wins over Iowa in their debuts. That's kind of a interesting team, Purdue. They're going to be very good or not very good, and Iowa's probably in the same situation. Georgia State beats Troy. BC rolls over Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, a week after, BC I liked a lot last week. They ended up getting beat pretty badly. And Georgia Tech got beat by 70 against Clemson. So Georgia Tech's just not any good this year. And they lose to Boston College at home, 48-27. Western Kentucky beats Chattanooga. Missouri beats Kentucky. I can't figure Kentucky out. Thank God that game was not on my list of ability to bet the games, because I like Kentucky a lot. Had them the week before against Tennessee. They played lights out, and they're a very never mind. They're a confusing team, very confusing. Texas Tech rolls over West Virginia in the Big 12. LSU finally gets off the schneid here. They've been playing very bad football, especially defensively. They win 52-24 over South Carolina, who some had thought were maybe starting to turn the corner with Will Muschamp a little bit, but not yesterday. LSU kind of rights the ship, and they needed it badly. South Alabama wins. Boise State wins over Utah State. Nevada over Wyoming. Rest of these games. Northwestern rolls over Maryland in their first games in the Big Ten. Northwestern's always an intriguing story within the Big Ten. Maryland has just fallen on really hard times. It's just, not a good time for Maryland in the Big Ten. A lot of these schools, Rutgers, Maryland, they move into the Big Ten. They got really no business being there. They can't compete year in, year out with these guys. Maybe Greg Schiano can make something happen at Rutgers, but he's going to have a hard time competing for conference championships in the Big Ten. Just a fact of life. San Diego State rolls over UNLV. San Jose State beats Air Force. The game I probably should have played yesterday. I really wanted to, and I was sleeping and didn't wake up in time to put the game in. It was one of those late. One good thing is we've got some late football back as well. And then we had one postponement, Colorado State and New Mexico. So, guys, there should be some shakeup in the rankings this week, probably. I mean, will there be an upset? I don't know. Penn State. Well, Penn State's going to fall, obviously. You had buys. You had Georgia on a bye. You had Florida on a bye. Now they're 2 weeks off. Let's see what happens when they come back. They had a COVID situation with a game postponement last week. It's caused some teams some problems. So probably not a huge shakeup other than Penn State dropping, and I think they should really drop a lot. And Indiana's going to move up. They weren't far from the top 25. They had a really good team last year and a good finish last year, and I think they'll be moving up. So that's going to do it, I think, for the college scene. I really don't have much else to talk about there. We're hitting the meat of the schedule now. It's going to be fun the next few weeks. Let me catch up on this little argument or conversation. We won't call it an argument that Rick and Billy got going on. The difference between most teams is the Jets aren't competitive. Good point. I think Billy's talking about how many wins he had last week. Oh, I'm sorry. Billy's talking about the teams with more wins than I think the Vikings. All right, you guys are Dr. No Gas. No gas? No gas? All right, anyway. All right, let's move on to the NFL, guys. Before we get to the picks, I guess this week I'm going to let Billy and Rick both participate since Billy's here. I don't want to, he's beaten me 2 weeks in a row. Well, he actually had a missed week, and I lost his pick, so I'm going to assume he beat me. Well, I'll assume he beat me 3 weeks in a row. I didn't have his picks the week I won 3, so no, he picked that week. 7-7. Oh, I guess it was last week I didn't have his picks. No, I had his picks last week. Whatever. Anyway, let's move on. NFL. Where are we at? What's going on? Took no notes for the NFL. Awesome. What's the big stories? COVID-19. I think we're clear this week. All the games are going to be played. A couple games got changed in the schedule of when they'll be played. Moved from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock and whatnot. I read something about Oakland, but I wasn't able to kind of confirm anything that they might have some problems. But I haven't really seen anything today that kind of confirms that. If anybody's got any information, that can certainly post that. So we may have, while there's some teams on buys, trying to get back to your guys' comments here. Oh, you guys are filling up my comments again. I love to see the comments. All right. Where are we at? Standing wise, AFC East. The Bills at 4-2. The surprising Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about the Bills first. Bills, losing a game last week. They're getting the Jets at a very fortunate time. Sorry, Bill, but I expect we'll talk about it during the picks, but I would expect the Bills to get healthy this week and get right against the Jets. The Bills are 4-2. They lost the last 2 games. And the Dolphins are kind of looking at their heels right now, 3-3. Dolphins are playing really good football, make an interesting change to bring in Tua as their starter and bench Fitzpatrick, who's not happy. I mean, everybody talks about him being a great, teammate, and he's going to step aside graciously. Well, he's not stepping aside graciously. Thursday or Friday after practice, I think it was Thursday, he was quoted as saying, they asked him how it was like being out there, and he goes, "It's like being fired and having to spend 4 hours with the boss that just fired you, and 4 hours with the person who just took your job." And that's not the, he's playing well. He doesn't understand why he's being benched. I get it. They're 3-3. I still think they're a year away. I don't think this is their year to compete. Maybe they'll compete for a wild card. But I don't think from a performance standpoint, they're going to do any worse with Tua than they're going to do with Fitzpatrick over the long haul. Maybe in the short term, because Tua's got to get his feet under him, And again, this is why if you're going to do this, is the time you do it. They got to bye this week, and he's got 2 weeks to get reps with the first team. Don't make picks yet, Bill. I won't be able to keep track. But there was a big school of thought amongst a lot of people that if the Miami Dolphins were smart, they would let Tua sit this entire year. Let Fitzpatrick play. Let whoever plays, whoever the third string quarterback is there, let them play. Let Tua heal. Tua had a major hip injury last year, less than a year ago. Not as bad as, like, say, Bo Jackson had years ago, but he'd had a lot of injuries while he was at Alabama. And I think that kid having a year off to watch, get healthy, learn everything would have probably been the way to go. They decided not to do that. Brian Flores is going to be a great coach, so I respect his opinion. It's his team. He knows what he's doing. So I don't think that the change in quarterback, I think whether they left Fitzpatrick or they play Tua, they're going to have the same chance to make the playoffs this year, which I think is not going to happen. I think they're a year away. Billy says let them play. I say let them get healthy. It is what it is. The Patriots threw up a stinker last week after being off for 2 weeks, unable to practice. Everyone practiced in 2 weeks, but even that all being said, it's the NFL, no excuses. They came out last week and stunk up the joint basically on all levels. Offense. The defense didn't play badly. They bent. The Broncos are not a good football team, and they got a lot of yards against that defense. They did hold them to 6 field goals. So if I was a Broncos fan, I wouldn't be terribly excited about the fact that I couldn't punch the ball in the end zone. But the coaching was just not good. The offensive line was a sieve. We still got offensive line issues, and I'll break this game down a little bit later. But they need to win today. They're 2-3. They got Buffalo next week. This is a huge game for the Patriots today. We move to the AFC North. Pittsburgh is 5-0, playing some great football. This is a great division. They killed the Browns last week, who came in 4-1, and were playing some pretty good football as they headed into the, into that game. They just had their way with them. And you got the Ravens at 5-1. So that's going to be a great race right there. I'm still not a big believer in the Browns, just because I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan. He's not great under stress. Billy's talking about Edelman's depressed. Edelman's, you know what? He's got a Tom Brady hangover. He played well. He had a big game against Seattle when Cam was healthy for the last time. I'm not writing Edelman off. He kind of sleepwalked through the Kansas City game when Hoyer and Stidman played quarterback. He's also been banged up. His knee's not been right all year. Plus, he's 34 years old and, man, has a lot of hits on him. So, I don't know. Maybe he'll go play with Tommy soon. Everybody else seems to be going there. We'll talk about that in a bit, too. That's the big story of the day, by the way. I'll talk about it when I get to that division. AFC South, the Titans continue to roll. Big game today against Pittsburgh. I mean, interesting matchup there. Colts continue to defy the odds. It's the defense is what's going to win, I think, for them. Phillip Rivers played better last week, but I still think Phillip Rivers is probably done. As a winning quarterback in the NFL. The Texans, some odd decision-making by Romeo Crennel, their interim head coach, after getting a win in his first game. They're playing the Titans last week with a chance to win. And they get up by 7 with about a minute and a half left, whatever it was. And he doesn't kick the extra point to go up by 8, make the Titans go to length of the field, score a touchdown, and go for 2. He goes for 2 to put the game out of reach. Probably not the best decision. In hindsight, maybe. I was happy he did, to be honest with you, because I bet the Titans and I needed overtime and a touchdown to be able to win, and that's exactly what happened. So thank you, Romeo. Very strange decision, though. Jaguars continue to stink it up. The West, the Chiefs, 5-1, not playing their best football, but they're 5-1, and they're still the best team in football. Them and Seattle, I think, are still the 2 best teams in football. Pittsburgh obviously is giving them a run right now. Tennessee is going to give them a run, but we'll see where that comes out. Excuse me. The rest of that division, the Raiders are too up and down. They're 3-2, but they beat the. I don't know. There's something missing there. I don't know what it is. Broncos 2-3. We talked about them. Sorry, guys. And the Chargers 1-4. You know what? They're better than that, though. I think the Chargers are an interesting pick today. We'll talk about that when we get to the picks. Billy, I'm going to bring you as co-host, man. You're commenting every time I say something here. Love the coach. Which coach? Chargers coach? I'm moving on to the NFC. And, God, we got to start with the NFC least. Oh, my God. How bad is it? The Eagles, who won a game Thursday night they had no business winning. I mean, the Giants actually could have been tied for first, I think, if they'd won that game. They were up by 10. I don't know how much time it was left, 4 minutes. That's a game good teams win. Philadelphia finds a way to win, and they lead the division at 2-4-1. Oh, my God. The Cowboys at 2-4. The Redskins have won one game and they're a game behind. Both are sort of Giants. So they're in the hunt. They're in the hunt. Oh, Pete Carroll. I agree. Just to talk about this for a second. Well, we'll wait till we get to the NFC West, Bill, and I'll comment on your Pete Carroll comments. I got a couple things to say there. NFC North. The Bears are doing it with mirrors, smoke and mirrors or something. They're 5-1. Defense is good. They got a great. I think they got a great linebacking core. They don't have a great quarterback though. Nick Foles is a good game manager. He's now the starter, but they're 5-1. We got an interesting game this week as well. Packers looked horrible last week. And everybody's going to have those games, as I said, but their defense was a sieve last week against the ageless Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. The Lions with a big win last week are 2-3. Matt Patricia needs all the wins he can get. He's in trouble there. And the Vikings are 1-5. And I got to believe, Rick, you can speak up here if you want. I got to believe Mike Zimmer is in trouble. Too much talent. Too much talent. No matter how bad we think Kirk Cousins is, well, I don't know that he's bad. He's just Kirk Cousins. He's not Tom Brady. And they've given up 192 points. I think it's the worst defense in the league. Mike Zimmer's a defensive coach. You can't be a defensive coach and give up 192 points in 6 games. Can't do it. The South, Buccaneers get things righted. It's going to be close. It's going to be a good division, I think, and a good race between possibly 3 teams. The Buccaneers, the Saints, who are, Drew Brees is not Drew Brees right now. Maybe he can straighten it out. Maybe there's other issues that I'm not digging into here. But Drew Brees just does not he looks like a shell of himself. And I hope he gets it back together, because I like Drew Brees, but you may be seeing the last of him. Tom Brady played great last week against the Packers, and I'll touch on this a little bit. If you haven't seen my interview with Ian O'Connor from Friday, go back and watch it. Again, I apologize for the technical glitches in the beginning, but the interview is good. I recorded it on Friday night, and we ended up with a few glitches. I'm sorry, Thursday night. We ended up with a few glitches Friday morning. But anyway, we talk a lot about his book, Belichick, the Patriots, Tom Brady, all their relationships, the Belichick, Kraft, Brady dynamic, and a bunch of other things. And he talks about Tom Brady a lot. And O'Connor knows his stuff. He spent 3 years, following his team around and interviewed 350 people or something, and many of them Patriots and ex-Patriots, and some of them on the record, some of them off, because Bill Belichick, as I said, tried hard to get this book, make it as hard as possible for Ian O'Connor not to get this book written, possibly because he wrote a very derogatory article when Bill took the job and resigned as the head coach of the Jets after one game. What was I going to? What was I saying? Lost track. Oh, he talks about Brady, and I was talking about Brady. He's got some comments in the book, and I watched another interview with him before mine, and he truly believes that Brady's going to play till he's 48 years old. I don't think so. Tom still wants to play till he's 45. Tom Brady's still very good, but you give him time. If you don't give him time, Tom can't get it done most days. And he's spending a lot of time ripping his new team. Tom's always been fiery on the sideline. So Tom Brady spent 20 years in the Patriot organization and years and years and years and many practices with a lot of the guys he would chew out. He doesn't have the same relationship here. Bruce Arians says he loves it. I don't know. Tom Brady forgot how many downs there were or what down they had 2 weeks ago. Didn't own up to it. That stuff bothers me. Own up to it. Bruce Arians tried to cover for him. I find it very interesting. After week 1 and they lost, Bruce Arians called him out before the press, something Bill Belichick never did. Never called Tom Brady out in front of the press. He does do a little passive-aggressive knocking of Tom here and there, but never call him out directly in public. But Bruce Arians put that entire loss basically in week 1 on Tom Brady's shoulders. He hasn't had a negative thing to say about Tom Brady since in a press conference. Don't think it's a coincidence. The Carolina Panthers, I think, are also going to be, they could hang in there and they could be a factor in this race and with the expanded playoff schedule or the amount of teams in the playoffs. They could be a factor. Matt Rule, I think, is a great hire there. They brought in Brady. Joe Brady to be the offensive coordinator. He was a guy who really turned Joe Burrow into the great player that he is when he was at LSU last year. And, I mean, the way things are looking, he may be one and done there because he may be a head coach in NFL next year. Great hire by Matt Rule. And Matt Rule's, I think, a tremendous coach. And they may compete this year. They may be a year away. We'll see. And the NFC West. The Seattle Seahawks, as I mentioned, I think are one of the best teams in football. Billy made a comment about Pete Carroll. He loves the coach. I love Pete Carroll. As a Patriot fan, it's a bit blasphemous. I was upset when they fired Pete Carroll in '99 and brought in Bill Belichick. I still didn't think Belichick, because the disaster in Cleveland, the nightmare that they had to go through with him, as they were negotiating to bring him in and they had to give up draft picks, and it was just whatever. I didn't think he was the right guy. And the first year he went 5-11, I certainly didn't think he was the right guy. And after they won 2 Super Bowls, I started to come around to thinking maybe they hired the right guy. So maybe it takes me too long maybe I'm a bit stubborn. But I will tell you this quick story. Pete Carroll obviously went to USC. We know what happened there. A great run. Maybe some issues, but again, a great run there. Turns it into the head coaching job in Seattle. And he's had this team. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been in another Super Bowl and lost. Probably should have won it, but he didn't. Bob Kraft fired. Tom Brady's not a crybaby, by the way, Bill. Just an FYI. I hate that analogy of Tom Brady. Tom Brady's passion has nothing to do with being a crybaby. Nothing. Remember that. I'll always defend him on this. Back to the Seahawks and Pete Carroll. Bob Kraft says the worst mistake, and this is after winning 6 Super Bowls with Bill Belichick, the worst mistake he ever made was firing Pete Carroll. And I don't think that's a knock at Bill Belichick. Maybe it is. Maybe that's his way of, passively aggressively saying, well, Bill, whatever. He's not a baby either. I'm going to have to come to your house and slap you around a little bit later. Anyway, Pete Carroll's a great football coach. And I've always felt that, he gets a bad rap for the call at the end of the Super Bowl when the Patriots beat them, but I still think he probably made the right call. Everybody's expecting a run. And they don't have any more timeouts, so if they run the ball there, they got to throw the ball somewhere the next 2 downs. If you don't score that next down, you got to throw the ball 3rd down anyway. I still don't think it was a bad call. Anyway, the rest of the NFC East. Cardinals still surprising. They didn't get the Jets yet last week, so it was kind of a bye win, but they're at 4-2. The Rams are at 4-2 after losing to a 49er team that we were starting to write off last week. Jimmy G didn't play well the week before. Got benched. Probably bought him back too soon. But he played really well last week. No interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 300 and some yards passing to defeat the Rams. Again, it looked like they were not going to win that game on paper, just on the way they had played. They're getting healthy now, and the Patriots have a huge game against them today. And Jimmy G's coming back to Foxborough, which we'll talk about in a bit. Let me catch up here a little bit on any comments I need to address. Danny Jones happy to play. The Rays runner fell. What? Oh, Daniel Jones falling down. It's funny. I saw a meme the other day that showed a sniper. It was intertwined with a sniper, which I don't know. Maybe the violence is going to offend some people, but I don't get offended. So Daniel Jones is. They show that run that Daniel Jones had Thursday night, 80 yards or whatever. And Daniel Jones actually was clocked going faster than Lamar Jackson has ever been clocked during that. I don't know if it means anything. But I thought that was interesting. But there was an interesting meme that was put up with Daniel Jones running, and he's in the open field, and there's a guy with a sniper rifle that has a bead on him and knocks him down at the 10-yard line as he fell down by himself. So anyway, interesting occurrence there, I guess. What do we got here? Billy liked the bye win. Yeah, anytime you play the Jets, it's kind of a bye week and a win right now. I don't see the Jets winning a game, Bill, which again is not bad for you. You don't win a game, you draft Trevor Lawrence, you trade Sam Darnold for some draft picks, maybe a couple of bodies that can help you, and just get a new coach who can actually figure out how to put guys in the best position to win games. And, you all of a sudden things are going to be much brighter than they are today. So, and I think it'd be good for Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's going to need a reboot after this. I still think he's a great quarterback. If you told me you wanted to take a 3rd-round pick for him and Bill Belichick was amenable to that, I might not mind seeing him in Patriots colors. And, looks like my wife is going to go try and vote. Good luck, babe. I don't think Trevor stays another year, Bill. Too much money, too much risk on staying. It all depends. I mean, unless he just doesn't want to play for the Jets. But who doesn't want to play in New York? Who doesn't want to take the money? He's not staying. I don't think. I'm going to tell you right now, I doubt he stays another year. So that's kind of where we're at. I thought there was one other thing I was going to touch on. I guess I did touch on everything I wanted to. What's Billy saying here? This discussion's been going on since Gene Smith and Mark Sanchez. Well, guess what? Geno Smith and Mark Sanchez are not Trevor Lawrence. Not the same conversation. Mark Sanchez drafted in the 1st round. He should not have come out of college. Pete Carroll told him not to come out of college, not to go into the draft. He wasn't ready, and he wasn't. And Geno Smith was drafted in the 2nd round. He fell a long ways. He had a great career at West Virginia, but he's not Trevor Lawrence. This guy's a generational player, guys. And if you don't want him, find a way to trade him to me, because I do. I wish we were tanking for Trevor. That's what my buddy Mark wanted to do. Let's win no games. Get Trevor Lawrence. But that's not the mentality of the Patriots. We try to win every year. So anyway, I get your thinking there, Bill, but again, this is a great player, tremendous football player. Needs a haircut, but I guess that's not really relevant to his football acumen. Okay. Before I move on to the picks, who am I picking against this week? I got to change my page here, guys. I got a really late start this morning. I didn't even get to write my picks down, so we're going to do them as we go. I have reviewed it. So I'm putting, I got Keith. Billy, you can defend your championship against me. I think you're going to say you beat me 3 weeks in a row, even though I don't remember the. Billy's a Clemson fan. No wonder you wanted to stay another year. Well, wait a minute. You're a Jet fan and a Patriot or Clemson fan. You're not. You could win a game next year and not get them. All right, I got Rick and Bill. Today. Don't be making up your own lines today, Bill. Sorry. Every once in a while, I go by the spread that I have that I think is fair, and if I don't have one, I look at another source and I grab one. So, good luck, guys. So we got Rick Sherlock, Bill Pulver picking against TGI Sports Talk legend Keith Engel, who is on a bad roll, guys. Where's my record? Hold on. Before we start, let me give you the bad news here, huh? Oh, it's not pretty. It's really not pretty. Last week, Keith went 7-7. Billy went 8-6. You don't want to pick against me. I got to find the post I put up, Bill. Got to be after this. Got to be before that. Oh, it's got to be before that. There we go. Pick 6, or week 6. We're into week 7. Keith and TGI Sports Talk 7-7 on the season. I'm 43, 46-2. Not very good. I haven't kept Billy's season total. Bill, if you got it, I'll be glad to post it, I guess. But since we don't pick every week with the guest pickers, I really don't keep their season totals. So probably not. It's probably best not to do it. Rick won't have one anyway. So again, that 3-12 in 1 week or whatever it was, just absolutely destroyed. I got off to a very good start. Fortunately, last week, by the way, Sherlock and Holmes. Forget the morning line, Bill. I got my line. Kidding. Hope you know I'm kidding. I'm not kidding about if that's your record, that's good. 28. Bill says he is 28-4-1. So that's 24-18-1. 2. But I'm guessing that's, the games, the weeks that he's actually picked, because obviously I've got more games in there. But that's a good job in the weeks that you have picked. I will tell you, fortunately, even though I was 7-7 last week, I did go 3-0 in the games that I actually had some shillings on. So we had an undefeated week last week in college and pros of the games that we bet. So that's not bad. All right, let's get started, guys. It's 10:18. Welcome. For those of you who might have just joined us, we're going to do our NFL picks now. TGI Sports Talk is on a bad roll and is going to turn it around this week. I'm going to win 75% of my games, my prediction. Okay, we start with the Seahawks at the Cardinals at 8:20 tonight. Some of these games have been moved around. That game could have been moved. I'm not positive. So the times, I'm not looking at today's lines. I've got some stuff that I've been working on since yesterday. So if that game's been moved, that's fine. The line is 3.5 at the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals have played well. Seattle's not exactly running away with games. They're winning, obviously, and I still think they're the top 2 teams in football. And their defense is not as good as it's been. So, their point differential, the Dolphins have a better point differential than Seattle right now. So, to give you an idea how close they're playing games. And it's really a bad idea for a defense to keep games close when Kyler Murray's on the other side of the football. And they're one play away from scoring, it seems, all the time, the way they play that offense. And they beat the Cowboys last week, and the Cowboys obviously are without Dak, but they still have Andy Dalton. It's not like they got I don't know. Give me a bad quarterback. Nick Foles back there. Both teams can clearly score here. I'm going to take at home the Cardinals plus 3.5. What do we got, guys? Rick's on the Cards. Billy's on the Seahawks. We knew that. It's going to be a great game. We don't, if it stayed at 8:20, I think we got it. I don't know what I thought I heard something this morning, and I wasn't able to follow it up, but we'll see if that game's at 8:20 or not. I know a couple games got moved around, as I said. It's not really important to what we're doing here. Billy's right. Wilson has a rushing touchdown every week. He's their offense. That's the problem there. The only problem I see is they're not the first fight enough on offense. And without Russell Wilson, God forbid something happened to him. Because Pete Carroll's a great coach, but he cannot coach a Russell Wilson-less team right now, the way that team is put together. Maybe the best game on the schedule early today, at least, if not all day, is the Steelers at the Titans. Both teams undefeated. Steelers are 2 on the road. I still have trouble believing in Ryan Tannehill, even though he brought them back from the brink of defeat last week against Houston. Even though he beat my team in the playoffs last year, played very well. And he's not really just managing games anymore. And I got to tell you, is there a better player in the NFL right now than Henry? Did you watch that game last week or the last few weeks? I mean, he's manhandled people. Some of the stiff arms he's given people. And the Bills, he almost knocked the guy into the stands with a stiff arm a couple of games ago anyway. And last week, when they went to overtime and they went to coin flip, game over. It was a Derrick Henry show. And that last play they ran, I think it was 4th down. I want to say it was 4th down in overtime. And they put him in the Wildcat. Everybody knows what's coming. Nobody knew. Everybody knew what was going to happen. And he's a monster. I haven't seen a player like him since Earl Campbell. Reminds me a lot of Earl Campbell. Iron Men. What does that mean? Oh, Pittsburgh. Billy's taking Pittsburgh. I haven't made a pick yet, have I? Rick is taking Pittsburgh. Keith, after all that build-up for the Titans, is taking Pittsburgh. We're all on the same team. -2, by the way, guys. -2, Pittsburgh. Hard to believe Tennessee's not favored in that game at home. I got to take down your score here, Bill. It's irritating me. Where is it? I got to find it and take it down. All right. Anyway. Stop it. 2. All right. Where are we next here? Green Bay at Houston. Packers 3.5. Coming off a horrendous game. One of Aaron Rodgers' worst games. I mean, I saw him last week. I rarely have seen this look of defeat on Aaron Rodgers' face. And last week he had it against Tampa Bay. And maybe it's just one of those games, because Green Bay's been rolling over people. And I think they're just too good not to bounce back here. I don't think that, obviously they're playing Houston, so it's a lot different than the Buccaneer defense. But I can't see that they don't bounce back here in a big way. So I got the Packers -3.5. We got Billy with the Cheeseheads, Green Bay. Rick sadly takes the Packers. I know you want to pick against them, but you're going to use your head. All right. The aforementioned Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Raiders. Interesting. They're -3 on the road. A lot of road favorites lately. I don't know, man. It's amazing how many road favorites there are in both college and the pros these last few weeks. So the Buccaneers are, 4-2. The Raiders are 3-2. Raiders beat the Saints at home. So there's a potential for them to be in this game. Problem is, Derek Carr still finds ways to fall apart at big moments. Tom Brady is providing that level of leadership that Tampa Bay was looking for. And in this situation, I think Bruce Arians and Tom Brady find a way to beat John Gruden and Derek Carr in this game. So I will take the road favorite again. God, I want to find some road dogs. Oh, I got one. Arizona already. Rick's on the Bucks. Phillies on the Raiders. All right. I would say a bold pick, but, it's certainly within the realm of possibility that, no, +3, Bill. +3. +3. It's not without the Raiders could win that game. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Kansas City Chiefs at the Broncos. 425 game. Chiefs are 9.5-point favorites on the road. Drew Lock is back for a second week in a row. He'll probably be better than he was last week with a little rust off it. He's only he and Colin Kaepernick. Here's an interesting stat for you. Only he and Colin Kaepernick they're the only first or second year quarterbacks to ever go into Foxborough and win a game since not ever, but since 2001. 19 years. All the other starters, including Patrick Mahomes, were 0-40. Bill Belichick. This is going to come into play in my pick, I think, with the Patriots, but we'll see. We'll see. Kansas City is again not playing great. They added Le'Veon Bell, which I don't think is really going to, affect them one way or the other. I don't think he's the player that he was. I don't think he'll ever be the player that he was. A lot of points to give up on the road. And I'm going to actually take the points with Denver here. Too many points. +9.5. Horseman. What's a horseman? Is that the Broncos? Okay. Sorry, Bill. Sometimes my brain doesn't lock in. Rick's on the Chiefs. He'll take the chalk. Well, here's my game of the day. 425 today. 49ers at the Patriots. National TV game on CBS. 49ers were desperate last week. Had fallen to 2-3. Injuries were piling up. Jimmy Garoppolo not playing well. Fans unhappy. People, fans, sports writers were starting to say, but Jimmy's not the answer. Jimmy does what Jimmy do. What did Jimmy do? Good grief. What did Jimmy do? Just comes back and beats the Rams, who are favored. Has a tremendous game. And now he's coming home to play a Patriot team that is a bit in disarray. No, the Patriots are -2.5, Bill. Hang on one second. Let me check something. Bear with me one second, William. I'm going to check out my backup lines. Gotta be great TV when I go to my phone, right? Patriots 2.5. Where do you get 7? Unless that's your prediction. 2.5. All right. See, you got me now. You throw me off kilter here. So again, tough spot. Patriots got to win. They can't fall 2-4. They're in a similar situation that the 49ers were in last week. Bills are going to win today. Got the Jets. I've said all along, the Patriots got to beat the Bills probably twice to win the division. They're banged up. The offensive line is horrendous. They got to get a running game going, which they started to do against Kansas City. Damian Harris played very well. If Burkhead's healthy, he's a good, reliable back. I love the Taylor kid. It wasn't active last week, I don't think. Little kid, he's 5'5" or something. Number 42. Watch him. Reminds me, if you guys are old enough to remember or follow the Pats at all, Mac Heron back in the day ended up going to prison for running drugs, but that's a different story. But Mac Heron was only like 5'4". Great player. This kid reminds me of him, but I don't even know if he's going to be active today. So I haven't looked at the inactives because now I'm with you guys. It's hard for me to look at that while we're on the air. In any event, they need to get. That's the thing they need to get going is a running game, including Cam. But they can't, continue to just run, design plays for Cam to run. They're going to get him killed. But they need to be able to run a game because play action is the only way that they're going to get guys open. They got a bunch of wide receivers that just cannot create separation on their own. So you've got to run pick plays. You got to run interesting things. I keep waiting for N'Keal Harry to break out. He doesn't do it. Bird's played well. Edelman's banged up. But I see them having a big game today. Rick mentions West Coast teams struggle crossing the country. I always, that's one of my theories. Stands more for the 1 o'clock games though, because 4 o'clock's a little bit. It gives you a little more time to kind of get your body adjusted to, the time zone you're in. But it still holds up. Historically, teams have trouble traveling west to east. So I wish this game was at 1, to be honest with you. But I think it's a big game. And here's the other thing: the 49ers are getting healthy. Mostert's getting healthy. Kittle's back and probably at full strength, if not close to it. Bill Belichick said today that he's the best tight end in the game today. And if you watch him play, he kind of reminds me of a littler Gronk. So anyway, must win for the Patriots. I'm on the Patriots, which of course I'm never going to be off them anyway. Where's our picks? Pats for Rick. I didn't make any excuses. Where did I make out? Did I make an excuse there? I said the team stinks. I said the offensive line is in disarray. None of those are excuses. You got to get it together. They're not in disarray just because of injuries and such. Everybody has injuries. They're not playing good. The excuses are the reasons that they're not playing well. They're not excuses. You can't win. You can't have a successful passing game if you got wide receivers who can't get open. And right now they cannot create separation to get open on their own. Not excuses. I'm very upfront when my team stinks. I said last week they stunk. Yeah, they had one practice in 2 weeks. You can use that as an excuse. I don't. You still come out and play a lot better game than you did that day. You should be able to beat the Broncos without practicing at all at home. Okay, Billy's on the 49ers. Sorry, I'm a little cranky this morning, right? Well, if you saw, I did my live promo from Druthers trying to drum up some sponsorship, so I need coffee today. I have fun doing those little cut-ins. Maybe I'll do the show live from there one day, see if they'll let me do it. We'll do a show during the games or something. Think that's fun or not? As I move on to the next game, make sure I didn't miss one here. Bills at the Jets. Bills minus 13. Make up any line you want, Bill. They're not going to cover. Josh Allen's going to get healthy here. I mean, or not healthy, but he's going to get right, I think, easily today. The Jets got nobody to stop Stephon Diggs, along with John Brown and Cole Beasley. Bills are tough. Bills defense will probably get healthy. Again, not get healthy. When I say healthy, I mean I think they'll get it right today against the Bills. I'm sorry, the Jets. So I see them covering this 13-point line pretty easily. I'll give you guys maybe at the end, once I get through here. I'm not sure where my picks are money-wise, but I'll give you an idea who I'm leaning towards. Bill, did you make a pick? Where are you? Jets. Nice pick, Jets. I can't find Rick's pick, but I'm got to assume he's taking the. I don't see your pick, Rick, but can I assume you're taking the Bills? I'll wait for your comment. I will. Jets coach last game. That's probably a good call. Gassing it up. I don't know. Gaze is just, that guy, bad fit for the team. Bad fit. He's just not a good head coach. He was a great offensive coordinator. He did some. He made Jay Cutler look like a professional winning quarterback for a couple of years in Chicago. But and he also in Denver, he was a great offensive coordinator. But some guys are just great coordinators. Most of Bill Belichick's coaching tree has been great coordinators and bad head coaches. I talked about that with Ian O'Connor on Friday, and the record is not good. Nick Saban is his only coaching, and that goes back to Cleveland. He was only there a year, I think, because they didn't necessarily see eye to eye on things. Although they're professional friends today. They brainstorm with each other ideas and such. But he's the only guy, and he barely can count him as his part of his coaching tree. So I digress. Bills, and Jets for William Pulver. Another interesting game. Carolina at the Saints at 1 p.m. Saints are 7.5 at home. Saints have not been themselves. Drew Brees has not been themselves, and maybe 40 years old. I'm just trying to read the notes here. Whose father made him a millionaire, Bill? He knows cable TV and not football. It's the owner. Oh, we're talking about Williams? I'm sorry, Johnson? I guess we're talking about. If that's the case, it's the owner. Fill me in there, Bill. It's the owner. He knows cable TV and not football. What's their relationship with the cable TV? As I go on back onto the Panthers game, they're going to need Kamara to carry the team. I think this week and maybe the rest of the year. I don't know. It's a lot of points. The Panthers are playing well. I've already told you about my love for Matt Rule and what a great coach I think he is, and Joe Brady, bringing that offense to life. With Teddy Bridgewater and Robbie Anderson, right? The ex-Jet. Yeah, I guess they could use him now. Chris Matheson, don't worry about Drew. Chris, welcome to the show today. Chris is a great, huge Saints fan, and he tells me not to worry about Drew, but I got to worry about 40-year-old quarterbacks, whether they're mine or somebody else's. Go visit Chris. I don't know if you guys are still open at Hill Mills, but Chris is the golf pro at Hill Mills. So welcome to the show. Glad to see you here. We'll give you a little plug. Don't forget next spring when we're doing a show, and my viewership has tripled or doubled, quadrupled. We'll give you some plugs up there. All right, I digressed again. I will worry about Drew because I'm taking the Panthers and the 7.5 today. And who's Billy and where you are? Yeah, I thought you were talking about the wrong team, Bill. If you're thinking of James Dolan, probably. By the way, where's my two guys' picks? Rick's got the Saints. Billy, post your pick again if you haven't yet. I don't think you have. I think it'll be a good game. I just like the Panthers, and the Saints are struggling a little bit, and they got to show me a little more before I lay 7.5 with a pretty good football team. Don't forget to put your pick up for that game, Bill. Let's move on. Jaguars at the Chargers, a game everybody wants to see. Thank God that's not on TV, I hope. Chargers is 7.5. I got not much to say about this. I mean, the Chargers are just awful. Their offense has cooled off after a decent start. The defense is the worst in the NFL. Right there with the Vikings anyway. Sorry, Rick. Billy took the Saints, by the way. Chargers, are an interesting team. They've played some tough teams, very tough. They've only got one win to show for it. But I just can't see the Jaguars going across country and covering this game. Justin Herbert's played well. For the most part, he's got some really strong group of targets in Allen and the tight end Henry, Mike Williams. I just think they've got. I just think you got that. Too many weapons there. I'm gonna have to take the home team, Chargers, and lay the points, 7.5. Again, I just said I couldn't do that with the Saints, but for different reasons. Because the Panthers are a live underdog. Jaguars that bring nothing to the table. Nothing. I'm going to say the Chargers are the Sparkies, Billy. I think you give me these nicknames so that later on you can say I didn't mean that. Rick's also taking the Chargers. Okay, moving on. Nobody cares about that game. Browns at the Bengals. I find this a very interesting game, to be honest with you. The Browns are 3-point favorite. They did a great job of throwing cold water on the enthusiasm of their 4-1 start by just having a horrible week against Pittsburgh last week, just demolished. And I just don't know. That's the kind of game that may have a hangover for them. The thing with going to the Bengals have been, they've won one game, but Joe Burrow's played really, really well. The Bengals have been in most of the games they've played. I think, trying to think, they got beat, I think, by the Ravens badly. But other than that, they've been within a touchdown in almost all their games. Joe Burrow's playing really well for a rookie and with not a lot of talent around him. But then, as I say that, at least on defense, I think that's their big problem. I mean, Joe Mixon's played well. He's got some skill position players. If they stay through the trade deadline, there's always the problem that they could move some guys. I'm going to take the Bengals. Bengals have been kind to me a couple of times in these picks. I've taken them with the points, especially at home, and they've done very well by me. Tie. Well, it could be a tie. Rick's got the Browns. Billy's lagging behind. He's still on the Chargers. I'm moving on. Waiting for Billy's pick. Chargers. That's not the Chargers. Still the wrong pick. Browns. Like Browns. Very funny, Bill. We got to get you on the show. We might have to do I get you on camera. We'll do a side by side one day. Cowboys and the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins. I have a hard time not calling them Redskins, and I may continue to do that. Good grief. I can't even talk when it comes to this division. It's just horrendous. But I can't see the Cowboys. This game, by the way, is a pick 'em for betting purposes today. I've seen some lines where the Redskins are actually favored at home over the Cowboys. I can't see. Again, we do have bad pass protection by the Cowboys. I do this every week. They are not that bad. They got to run the football. They got to get Ezekiel Elliott more involved. And, they got to put Andy Dalton in a position where he can win. He can win the game and not lose the game for you, right? Give him short yardage, third down situations. Zeke made some bad plays last week. The Arizona offense, looks like that of the Ravens, but that's not what we're going to see this week. And there's some rumblings of discord in the locker room with the Cowboys and unhappiness with Mike McCarthy and the coaches, and that's what happens when teams start to lose, especially when they're supposed to be good. The line of the Cowboy game is pick 'em, by the way, Bill. Still looking to see if I got your. Oh yeah, pick the Browns. I'm with the Cowboys all the way here. I gotta believe the Cowboys are going to get on some kind of run. Andy Dalton, Dak Prescott gives them a better chance to win games, no doubt about it. Andy Dalton is a capable NFL quarterback in the regular season, at least. Winning a playoff game might be a different story if we get to that point with the Cowboys, but I don't think there's any reason they can't win this division with Andy Dalton and the rest of the talent there. They've got some pretty good pass catchers. You've got Zeke Elliott. If the offensive line straightens itself out, well, maybe they can make a little run here and win that division with 7 wins. Oh, God, 7 wins. It's entirely possible, guys. Maybe 5. Or I'm not 5. Maybe 6. Problem is they got to play each other, so they got to win some games, right? But if they kind of round robin those games, who the heck knows what'll happen to them? Billy's on the Redskins. But that's, by the way, you can't call them that. It's politically incorrect, Bill. They're the team formerly known as the Redskins. You can call them whatever you want on this show. Where is Rick's pick? The Cowgirls. It's amazing how some of these names stick and never go away, right? Cowgirls. Here's an exciting game at 1 o'clock on Fox. I love Matt Patricia. I really do, but that team is bad. Lions and Falcons. Teams often get a boost from firing their head coaches. The Falcons got a boost last week, got their first win. Sorry. Sorry, Rick. I was on the Vikings last week in these picks, as you know. I can't pick when it comes to wagering, and when forget about these picks, but the picks I might make to put a few dollars on. I can't pick the Falcons, right? I pick them, they lose. I pick against them, they win. They're 2.5-point favorites at home here. Matt Patricia needs to keep winning to probably keep his job and not end up on the unemployment line like Dan Quinn. They've gotten a little better because DeAndre Swift has emerged as a pretty good running back, and Adrian Peterson has provided some veteran presence to that team that's helped them, I think. And they still have, Stafford is still not a horrible quarterback, so we'll see. Problem is, again, their defense doesn't play well. Another situation, this always seems to happen. These defensive coaches get to be the head coach, and they cannot coach defense anymore, and their teams don't play good defense. Happens a lot. Dan Quinn, for instance, it was a defensive coach. So anyway, Falcons at home, 2.5, too many weapons. Matty Ice, Calvin Ridley's wreaking havoc, I think, today on the secondary of the Lions, and hopefully Julio Jones will be healthy. I didn't even look at the injury report too much this morning. Again, I had a couple of things I had to attend to before the show. So he wants the Cowboys, partner. You switched your pick? Let me make a change. I don't know, Bill. All right, we changed your pick. I'm going Falcons in this game. I think I saw Billy with the Falcons. And, whoops, stuff flying off my desk here. And Rick with the Falcons. All right, guys. We're getting down to the wire. Monday night. Again, another interesting matchup. There's some dogs today, and there's some really good matchups, I think. Bears and the Rams. The Rams are 5.5-point favorites at home. Tomorrow night, 8:15. The Bears somehow are 5-1. I don't know if they're just, have an outrageous spurt of luck here, or they're this good. Remember, I always say, if you guys have watched this show and other shows that I do, there was a I'm sorry to use the term again, but it's the only way I know how to describe him is the fat bastard who used to coach my team, who's a great coach, not a great guy, but he is a great football coach and he's a great football mind. And when he was asked a question about, are you this good? Are you that good? You are what your record says you are. You're 5-1. Well, you're a 5-1 football team. Not better, not worse. That's what you are. So I have to give the Bears and their coach Nagy some credit here. They played very, very well. The Rams have looked really good, except for a couple of spots. Last week, one of them. They probably should have won that game against the 49ers, and they really were outclassed. And they lost to the Bills on the road, which, again, as Rick pointed out earlier, and I always say, West Coast teams coming east, especially for a 1 o'clock game, as that one was, it's a tough position for them. I think it's going to be a very long day for Nick Foles. I think the defense is going to be too good for them. I think the Rams are going to really want to rebound after this horrible showing against 49ers last week. So I'm all over the Rams here. 5.5, Bill. You're killing me. Rams for Rick. And we got one more thing to cover here, guys, so don't go away in case you're thinking of running it off, because, Billy's already on me. Where's Billy's pick for this game? Rams? You got a question mark next to it. 5.5. Who are you taking in this game, Bill? I don't see it in the remarks anywhere. I'm going to write you down for the Rams right now. If you want to change that, let me know. So the line for Thursday night, Rick, as you know, you've been here every week. Billy, you're here every week. I usually I'll take people at their word. I expect everybody to be honest. I will tell you I lost that game. The Eagles were hold on one second. I have to go to my other thing here. Eagles were a 4.5-point favorite over the Giants. I was on the Eagles. So I'm already down one, which seems to be the case every week. I have not had a Thursday night winner, I don't think, all year. Fortunately, no money put on those games. So you guys can tell me who you would have picked in that game, Rick and Billy. Billy has proof that he liked the Giants. You make them up. No, I don't. What, the rules? What? What are you talking about? Jets fans struggle with numbers. Billy had the Giants Monday night or Thursday night. I think that's what he's saying he's got proof about. Rick was on the Eagles as well. Very honest man. Not that I doubt you, Billy. You're a New York kind of guy, or a New Jersey kind of guy, I guess. In the Giants and Jets case, we'd have to say New Jersey, not New York. They still play in New Jersey, right, Bill? They haven't moved back to New York, have they? That's a rhetorical question. The Bills are obviously the best team in New York, as they're the only team in New York. So they have been the best team in New York for years. All right, that's all our picks. Great job. I appreciate you guys helping me out today. It was great to see Chris Mathewson here today. Again, if the weather gets better and you want to play some golf, go visit him at Hales Mills Golf Course. He's the golf pro there. Does a great job. Great kid. And he's got a new little baby this year. When was the baby born? I don't know if Chris is still here or not. I forget now. I think football season was still on, so we got to be like 9 months or so. I'm not sure. Massachusetts Patriots. No, well, it was almost, to be honest with you, the Bridgeport Patriots at one time, the Hartford Patriots at one time, St. Louis Patriots it was going to be at one time, and Bob Kraft stopped all that. So we thank Bob Kraft for that. I have some harsh words for Bob Kraft in my interview with, semi-harsh. Mark thought I was too harsh on him in my interview with Ian O'Connor Thursday. Guys, if you haven't watched it, watch it. So listen, I want to thank everybody here. We're coming up on 11 o'clock. I want to let you guys get on with your day. I will say thank you for coming, stopping in. I loved chatting with you guys every Sunday morning. Watch the shows on Thursdays. On Friday mornings or when we do the interview shows. I'm still thinking about adding another day. I just don't know how I can do it. I'd like to split up some of the stuff so I'm not covering 3 subjects on Sunday morning. It would help me with the groups that I posted to. But stay with us. Remember, Friday, Billy Martin Jr. We're going to have a great conversation about his dad, the legendary manager of the Yankees and Tigers and Twins and Rangers and A's and the Yankees 5 times. We're going to have a very candid conversation about his dad, and we'll get the real story behind the scenes. Maybe there's a few things that Billy's acted out on. So we'll have on delay. Looking forward to Billy Martin Jr. on delay. Oh, because you don't watch it live. Right. Watch it, guys. Remember, you don't have to be there Friday morning at 8 a.m. You can watch the show anytime. I've had some share issues this week that I'm still trying to work out, so our views are down a little bit on Neil O'Connor, but they'll pop up once I get that straightened out, hopefully this weekend or tomorrow. I've got some great guests coming up. Billy Martin Jr., as I said. I'll have Fred Mitchell on the 6th. I think it's the 6th. He was a longtime writer covering the Chicago Bears, wrote a great book about the late Gale Sayers. We'll have him on the 6th. So we'll see you then, guys. Have a great Sunday. Good luck to your teams. Good luck to Rick and Billy. Doesn't take much to beat me. Rick, you'll be involved. If you want, you can be involved in the payoff when we go to BJ's to have a brewski when we can all get together. Drew, Billy, and Rick. Enjoy. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.